Welcome into this week's edition of the Coaches Show. Joining me first and for the final time, unfortunately, this season will be our women's head basketball coach, Dr. Britta Belanger. Coach, thanks for joining me.
Thank you.
And Coach, as I just mentioned it, obviously the season has come to an end. Didn't go exactly the way we wanted it to, but the Lady Wolves did get their first win in the Region 23 tournament since the 21-22 season. Made it all the way to the quarterfinals, had a little slip up there and fell against Itawamba, who eventually made it all the way to the Final Four and came up just a little bit short in the semifinals. But going back to ours, you went on the road to Eunice on Thursday, March 5th, and got a 67-64 win. If that win sounds like it was really close,
it was very close.
It was closer than what most people realize, because as you and I were talking, Eunice got a couple of open looks at a game-tying three. Fortunately for the Lady Wolves, neither one of them went down. But your thoughts overall on how good it was to see your team go down there after a not great performance against East Central. You even go further back when you went over there in December, didn't play really well. You had a really good feeling about this team, and I think your team really responded to the bell.
Yeah, that was a sweet victory to be able to go to Eunice. You know, our last regular season game, we went to East Central, who was a team that I felt like we should beat. We felt like we should beat, and we just laid an absolute egg against them. We played absolutely probably the worst we've played all season. So it was nice to be able to bounce back and get a win against Eunice, who was a very good team. You know, when we played them in December, I left there and I told several people, I said, that's the best team we've played all year. And for a long time throughout the course of the conference play, I felt like Eunice was the best team in our region. Had they not had some injuries and things similar to us, I think they would have stood a chance of, winning that region title. Hard place to go play, 3-4 hour bus ride, not the friendly confines of Mississippi. It's a Louisiana school with a lot of unfamiliar faces, unfamiliar officials. We were fortunate. We had a lot of fans there that night. We have Maddie Mitchell is from Baton Rouge. Imani Key is from Lafayette. And so Akila Hobson is from Oakdale. So all three of them are from kind of close to LSU Eunice, so we were fortunate that they all had some people come, and we had a nice cheering section for this one.
And you look at this one, and I think you can make the case this might be one of the best overall first halves you played as a team all year. You outscored them 20-15 in the first quarter, 20-12 in the second. You had a 40-27 lead at the break, and really it may not have even been that close had Eunice not made a three right before the buzzer. That made it 40-27 right as you went in. It was 40-24 at that point. After half, they won those last two quarters, 18-11 in the third, 19-16 in the fourth. And you could kind of tell in that fourth, everything was still, you were playing a little bit tighter and those kind of things. You kind of feel that moment. But I think it was fun for you as a coach to see your girls respond. And they were able to, every time Eunice was able to get a big basket, we were able to respond. And that's really what gave us the difference.
Yeah, we came out of the gate early in the game and we were red hot. Everything we shot went in. We got a lot of defensive stops. Everything they shot, they missed. And that's scary as a coach, because that a team that shoots it as well as they do, when they're in their home gym, they're not going to continue to shoot that poor of a percentage. And that was one of the things we harped on at halftime was, hey, y'all, they're going to start to shoot the ball better. They're going to start to shoot it better. And in those first 2 or 3 minutes of the third quarter, we went through a scoring drought where we didn't score for very long. And they rattled off 2 or 3 threes. I had to call timeout. And then we were able to respond. And we continued to respond throughout the course of the game. Late, I got concerned. I got really concerned when they had the open threes at the very end, because I thought they were going to make it and we were going to go to overtime, and I just didn't know if we had the energy left in us. We're playing with 9. We've got so many injuries and things like that, and it took all 9 of us, and I took a breath, and I went, if we have to go to overtime, we're going to be in trouble, because I just didn't think we had the energy. We had played so well, and I just didn't know if we were going to do that. Fortunately, we were able to get the defensive stop and not have to do that.
Yeah, and you look at the personal line scores, and then 2 of your sophomores, and what could have potentially been their last game really stepped up for you. Cam Pruitt led all scorers with 23 points. She had the second most rebounds with 13, so a 23 point, 13 rebound, double out of her. Imani Key had 13 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, and a steal. Madison Mitchell had 6 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals. Jalen Applewhite came off the bench, flirted with a double-double, gave you 8 points, 7 rebounds, a steal. Just up and down this, all 9 that played really gave you valuable points, valuable minutes. Even if they didn't score, they found a way to affect this game for you.
Yeah, and I think that was one of the reasons we were so successful in this game. They couldn't focus in on, okay, we're just going to guard Cam Pruitt or we're just going to guard Imani Key, because Jalen Applewhite came in off the bench and gave us big minutes. Tyra Johnson, our post players, gave us big minutes. Eunice is not a team team that has a lot of post, and we were able to feed the ball inside. We also out-rebounded them by a huge margin, I remember, and we got a lot of second chance opportunities, which gave us a chance to win the game. When we had gone there in December, one of the things that we talked about before we went was they almost doubled us on the boards at their place in December, and we turned it over like 27 times. You can't do those two things and win. And I thought we did a much better job in this, in this game. We rebounded it much better, and we didn't turn it over. I thought we handled their pressure really, really well. They're a team that presses for 4 quarters. Maddie Mitchell, at this point in the season, all our point guards are hurt. I'm looking at Coach Ray, and I'm going, she's got to play the whole game. We can't let her get in foul trouble. And I thought she did a really good job on tired legs of leading our team. And, asking her to play 40 minutes is really difficult to do. And I thought she did a good job of that, even if her stat line didn't, show that. But, yeah, everybody that we put in was a big contributor. I remember Amari Barnes coming off the bench in that first half and hitting 2 big threes that kind of gave us even more of a spark. So a lot of contributions from a lot of different people.
Yeah, I think as a coach, it was good to see, that team go into a place that was very unhospitable, very hostile. They had a big student present there, and I saw the students really getting after us as well too. And for them to answer that and know that you could go on to the next round and go to somewhere that's not going to be hospitable, that's going to have a hostile environment, and find a way to win had to be good.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, their baseball team was there, and they were not hospitable. And we don't shy away from that. That's one thing I tell them. I'm like, y'all, that's the way it's supposed to be, and that's what makes it fun. And they made it fun. They gave us a hard time. And I know you're fixing to flip a page. Then we went to Itawamba and played in an empty gym, which was very, very different. So I'd much rather play in a full gym where people were giving me a hard time.
Yeah, right. And as you just mentioned it, we did go to Itawamba that next Saturday on the 7th, and this one just wasn't a day for the Lady Wolves. Unfortunately, you dropped this one 71-44. But I was talking to Coach Thompson the other day, and I told her, I said, there's a 10-minute period, and it wasn't, normally you and I talk, there's maybe a bad quarter we play. There was a 10-minute period about the last 4 minutes of the first quarter, the first 6 of the second, where they went on about it was 12-8, and then it was 20-8 at the end of the first. Then we had a couple of technicals. We got a little bit out of ourselves, and that made a big 8-point swing. You look at that 10-minute period, and in a perfect world, you could take that away and say this game was a lot closer than what that scoreline says. And maybe if that 10 minutes doesn't happen, do we play a little bit better? Those are a lot of hypothetical questions you can answer, but I think despite that, you have to like the fact that your girls never played down. They fought through it all the time. Right. They never gave up. And that was the thing that stuck out to me was, it wasn't our day, but we kept at them.
Yeah, we had some adversity in this game. We had some mental breakdowns early in the game, late in this first quarter. I thought we came out really strong and played really well the first 5 or 6 minutes of the games, and then we had some mental breakdowns that really cost us. And like you said, you take those 10 minutes out, I think it's a much closer game than what it is. They're a very good team. They were scoring from all different angles. We tried every defense we had, and it just wasn't our day. We couldn't stop them. We couldn't do anything to stop them, and they were just scoring so well. And we went through a period there where we could not score. So in addition to not playing well, and we gave them some free baskets where the clock wasn't running because we had some fouls and stuff, those things just combined to really, really hurt you. It's very difficult to do what the league is asking us to do or asking Itawamba to do or asking anybody really in our league, because on Thursday night we took a 4-hour road trip to LSU Eunice, and we're able to win that one. Then Friday morning we practiced, and we drove to Itawamba Friday afternoon. We were fortunate that our administration took care of us and let us stay and gave us our best chance to win. But to have to go on the road 5 hours the very next day and try to win is very, very difficult. And I think that's something our league needs to address. We need to go back to a neutral site where it's more fair for everyone. It's also very difficult to beat any team on their home floor. Had someone had to come into Mullen, that's really difficult to do. If you go back and look at the Eunice game, we were the only team that went on the road and had an upset. Everyone else, the home team won. And if you go to the next round, everyone else, the home team won. So there is an advantage to being the home team, but I don't know how much of a tournament atmosphere that truly makes it. So we played very poorly against Itawamba. We did not play well enough to win the game, but there were a lot of other factors that were working against us that, had it been on a neutral floor or had it been a perfect world, things would have been a little different.
Yeah. Do want to make sure that we mention in what was her final game, Kim Pruitt finishes her career with a double-double, led all scorers with 24 points, tied with the game lead with 10 rebounds. She was the only player in double figures in this one, so they kind of felt like Itawamba was like, all right, we'll let Cam get hers, we'll guard everybody else, we'll 23 can get hers as long as everybody else doesn't have what they normally have, we'll be okay. And you look at the season and you finish it 15-12. 12 overall. You know, I think going into it, and you look back at it, you go, that's not a bad season. 6-8 in conference play. You wish that number was a little bit better. If it had been
7 at least.
If that number had been a little bit better, you can go, hey, maybe we're in the position where somebody's coming to us, coming to Mullen. But you know, you have to play the hands that dealt with you, injuries and those kind of things. Your thoughts overall on how the season went and just how it met your expectations?
Well, I think when you look at the overall body of work of what our record turned out to be, what our conference record turned out to be, and you take into account the amount of injuries we've had over the course of the season, I think as a coach, I'm very, very happy. You know, week 1, practice number 1, we lose a freshman point to a torn Achilles. 3 weeks into the season, Kyle Bell, we lose her to a torn PCL. You know, we lose another one to a torn ACL. So all 3 of our points, you know, we're finishing the season with 1 point. So overall, if you know that going in and you tell me we're going to be 15-12, I'm going to take it every day of the week. 15-12, you know, 6-8 in conference, be able to win a game in the Region 23 tournament. Without those 3, when they went down, there was a point where I went, I don't know if we can do this. I don't know if we've got the firepower. And late in the season, and I think that's one thing that happened to us at East Central, which is one game I'd like to have back. We had just lost Aquila to the ACL. We're asking Maddie to play 40 minutes a night. Not only are we asking her to play 40 minutes a night, we're asking her to handle the ball for 40 minutes. And oh, by the way, you're also our best defender. We're also asking you to guard their best player. That's really difficult for one player to do. She never had a hiccup. She did it. She did it well most nights. But it's a hard thing to ask people to do.
Yeah, just shows you how special this group was and how every time they personified that, yes, coach, whatever you need, I'm going to do it for you. And, you know, now you kind of begin the tough part of the coaching process. I think a lot of people think, oh, the season's over. Now it gets easy for the coaches. Now it gets harder because now you've got to not only work on retaining who you want to keep and the team that you want to bring back, but now you've got to start recruiting and you've got to finish out that process. A process you've been working on all year. I know we've got a really solid class that we're excited about, and we're going to post about those on all of our social media soon. But, you know, now begins the journey of getting ready for the next year. I know a lot of people think season's over, coaching stops. No, season's over, coaching just starts again for you.
Yeah, that's the most difficult part of this. When you lose 8 sophomores like we're losing, and you only have 4 returners, you got a lot of work to do. So we do have 4 returners. We have 3 freshmen who will be back, and then Kyle Bell, who's a redshirt. She'll be a redshirt sophomore coming back. So we're solid with the ones we have coming back, but we had a lot of pieces to fill. We've signed 7 freshmen who we're very, very excited about. And we've been working, you know, Coach Ray and I have been working since August to sign those kids. So we're putting the pieces to the puzzle together. We've got about 4 or 5 we need to sign. We need 2 out-of-staters, and then 2 or 3 transfers is kind of what we'd like to have. Our biggest need right now is posts. And I think you could ask any coach in our conference or probably any coach in America, and they would say our biggest need right now is post. They're just so hard to find. So we're excited about the 4 we've got coming back. We're excited about the pieces we've added. We still got a little bit of work to do, but I think we're in a good spot. You know, I was concerned a few weeks ago. I was going, oh, we've only signed 2 or 3 or 4, you know, these freshmen. Now we're going to have to sign 5 or 6 or 7. Well, now we're in a really good spot where we can be patient and pursue those out-of-staters that we want. You know, we can let that portal open, and we don't get a lot of traction from the portal, but sometimes that stuff trickles down, and we're able to steal 1 or 2 here and there. So I wish the job was over. I wish it was vacation time, but it's nowhere near vacation time for us. We've got, you know, 2 or 3 more weeks of recruiting, you know, up until May. By May, we pretty much have the team, you know, in place. We may have 1 spot left to fill. Camp is a big thing on our docket coming up. My phone over spring break, I bet I have 40 coaches ask me when camp is. So that's a today thing. We're going to figure out when is camp and what are we doing with that and things like that. So all good things, but the process of coaching, it never really stops.
Yeah, the other fun part of the job for the SIDs, all the kids camps, the team camps, all the other camps in between, and all the pictures that we get to take and just enjoy a little bit of lax time during the summer as well.
It may be lax for you. Camp is not a lax time for women's basketball.
Yeah, I was about to say, I say lax, but you know, Bryce Perry and I always usually end up helping with camp too, and we graciously love being able to come over and help with that and enjoy spending time with all the other teams and getting to know people around the state and all the ones that come in as well too. But again, lots of exciting things happened for the Lady Wolves this season. 15-12 overall. And again, as Coach said, despite all those injuries, despite losing a point guard at the very first practice, losing another one 3 weeks in, losing another one literally for the last 3 games of the season, 15-12 overall, 6-8 in conference play, a great year, win a Region 23 game for the first time in 4 seasons since the 21-22 season, get to the quarterfinals. The future is certainly looking bright for the Lady Wolves. So. 4 returners coming back, lots of new faces coming in, lots of things to be excited for Lady Wolves basketball fans. That will wrap up our women's basketball segments for this season. We look forward to talking to Coach once next season gets here. We'll blink and it'll be here. We'll blink and August will be here and the kids will be coming in and they'll be moving in and we'll be taking pictures and getting to know all the new ones and those kind of things as well too. We look forward to it. Coach, thanks for joining me.
Thank you.
And we look forward to next year. That'll wrap up this segment again. Joining me next will be our men's head basketball coach, Randy Bolden, will come and we'll talk about how the Wolves did in the Region 23 tournament after this. Thanks for sticking with us through the break. Joining me, unfortunately, for the final time this year will be our head men's basketball coach, Randy Bolden, as promised. Coach, thanks for joining me.
Well, always a pleasure.
And Coach, as I mentioned, unfortunately, it'll be the last time because you went on the road in the first round of the Region 23 tournament, and it just wasn't the Wolves' day. Dropped a hard one to Pearl River, 80-56, but that scoreline really doesn't belay how close this game was for most of it. It really didn't feel like it got out of hand until kind of the last half of the second half, maybe the last 5 minutes or so. It was 27-24 at halftime. But your thoughts overall on how the guys were able to go down there really overcame some adversity because you didn't have your point guard and Coy Williams playing and those kind of things. Had to play with a little smaller rotation. Only played 8 guys in this one. But your thoughts on how the guys were able to go down there, handle some adversity, and really play well despite what that score says it was.
Well, I mean, it just speaks volume to our guys. I thought in that first half, I thought we fought, we competed, and we were where we wanted to be. If you had told me at halftime we would have been down 3 outside, I would like our chances, and I thought our guys executed. We competed and gave ourselves a chance to win at halftime.
Yeah, and you look at it, you had some guys who had some really good days. LeBron Deal had 17 points, 2 assists, 3 rebounds, 2 steals. Dylan Craigett, 11 points, 1 assist, 3 steals. Those were only 2 guys in double digits. Mustafa Salik floated with a double-double, had 8 and 9. Tyrell had floated with a double-double, 7 and 7. Maybe one of his, maybe one of his worst games. But if you go back and watch that game, you could see why. Because Pearl River, every time he touched the ball, did exactly what you would expect another team to do. They had 3 guys on him. He couldn't see anybody else besides Pearl River guys, and just kind of frustrated him all night.
Well, yeah, I mean, and that's what teams do. They watch film and they know Tyrell's a big part of what we do, and they did a good job of double him. And again, when we don't make excuses, but our point guard being out and they pressured us a little more than they normally do once they knew that he wasn't playing. But I thought our other guys, they stepped up and I thought we gave a valiant effort, and I thought our guys competed, and that's all you ask for those guys to do, and I was proud of them.
Yeah, Coach, and I think when you look at it, you finished 14-14, perfect 500 across the board, 14-14 overall, 7 and 7 in conference play. I think when you go back and you look and you got the job late, you put this roster together really quickly in the span of about less than 3 weeks. If I told you, hey, you're gonna go 14-14 and 7 and 7 in conference play, I think you'd look at anybody and go, we'll take it.
Yeah, absolutely. And you look at it, we had a lot of inexperienced guys that grew up right in front of our eyes, and I was just so proud of them. Just to see them from August to see where they were in March, it was just amazing, and I was just proud to coach them.
And I think you can also say, you say you'll take that because when I also say, hey, your best player's going to come, he's not going to turn 18 until really almost until the season starts, right. and you're still going to go 14-14. You go, that's not going to be a bad year.
Absolutely.
And now you look at it, and I think people, you can also look it down, opening down the schedule again. There were 3 or 4 games you lose by 5, a couple of possessions. Some that were a little bit closer than that, but they were closer throughout it. That if balls bounce your way, you might be looking at hit 19 and 9, or a little bit better than 500. But overall, you have to say, those games didn't go our way, and that's just part of it.
Yep, I mean that's the way the season goes sometimes. Again, we dealt with some injuries, and injuries part of it. But lo and behold, I take our hat off to our guys. I mean, they battled all season. We beat a lot of teams that we shouldn't have beaten. People on paper, we had no chance. So, but our guys believe. They believe in our program. They believe in what we're trying to build here, and I'm just excited about what the future holds.
And I think I've told some people, I said, if you're going to get Co-Lin basketball, you better get them this year, because I can promise you what Coach Bolden is building is going to be very special. And I think, when people see these kids that you're signing and the ones that are going to come in, they're going to be like, oh, wow, Co-Lin basketball is going to be for real. And, and that's kind of like we were talking with Coach Britta just a few minutes, just earlier in this segment, I think a lot of people think, oh, the season's over, now the coaching stops. No, season's over. Now the fun part of the coaching really starts. You got to finish off these recruits that you've been talking to kind of all year throughout their seasons. Now the high school seasons are done, especially in the states around us, and in Mississippi it's done as well too. So now you got those kids that are close to the finish line. You want to get them all the way through. You want to get them here. Just talk about, have to obviously go into specifics, but talk about how has the recruiting gone for you? What are you excited about for this upcoming group?
And it's funny you say that. That's the fun part about it. You're able to go out and handpick the guys that you wanna bring here, and I'll tell you, we are very excited about the guys we've signed thus far, and like I say, we have one or two more guys we want to sign, and just think we didn't have a roster this time last year, and here we have maybe one or two guys that we're looking to finish off, but we have some exciting guys coming in that not only they can play, but they're good kids, come from good high schools, good coaching, good parents. So Co-Lin men's basketball is on the rise, and we're very excited about it.
Yeah, so finish off the school year, make sure we got the guys coming back that we want back, and those kind of things, and get the guys in that we want in, and then of course over the summer, that's the real fun part. You got the kids camp and the team camps and all the other camps in between. As I talked with Coach Britta, like I said, that's the fun part. The other fun part for me and Bryce Perry, we get to relax a little bit while we're taking pictures and getting to build some bonds with people throughout it.
You guys get a chance to know the new guys over the summer, so it's a fun time, and again, like you say, with camp and things like that, and we bring them in July, and we'll in the July summer school with them, and kind of build that bond and start putting together our plan for the following year.
Yep. So again, lots of exciting things happen for the Wolves. They finished 14-14, 7-7 in conference play. It'll be next year before we get to talk to Coach Bolden again, but as I mentioned in our women's basketball segment, it'll be here before we know it. Blink, Absolutely. It'll be August. The kids will be coming in. We'll be taking pictures and headshots and getting all the information for them. We look forward to it. Coach, we look forward to next season. So
Thank you.
Thanks for joining me. Again, look forward to next year and all the fun things happening, exciting things happening for Co-Lin's men's basketball as it is on the rise despite dropping a game at Pearl River in the Region 23 tournament. Again, 14-14 overall, 7-7 in conference play. Great season for the Wolves men's basketball team. That will wrap up all of our basketball segments for the year. Coming up, we've got golf, baseball, and softball after this.
At Copiah Lincoln Community College, you'll find a family of instructors and staff who truly care about your success. And not to mention a really fun college experience too. Co-Lin was recently ranked #1 in the state for student success. So whether you need to start or finish your college degree, take classes on one of our 3 campuses or online, Co-Lin is the place to be.
Welcome back in. Thanks for sticking with us through the break. Join me now for the first time this year, surprisingly for the first time, just haven't been able to work out the schedule, but joining me now is head golf coach Alan Kent. Coach, thanks for joining me.
My pleasure.
And Coach, obviously, like we just mentioned, haven't got to talk to you a lot. Golf's a little bit of a weird sport. I tell people, you play half the season in the fall, and then you come back and play half the season in the spring. And I think right now you'd kind of say this season's been a little bit of a roller coaster. You had a pretty okay start, and then at the end of the fall, didn't play as well as you thought your guys were capable to. Came back in the spring, and got a little bit of a rough start in the spring. But your last 2 guys have played really, really well. 6th and 3rd in the last couple of events. But your thoughts overall on how the season's going and what you've seen out of your guys?
Yeah, again, it has been kind of up and down, but probably more down than up. But these last couple of tournaments, we're really starting to figure some things out, and our scoring has just been more consistent across the board. So, if we take 5 players to play, and then we take the best 4 scorers from those 5 players, and just these last few tournaments, we've been able to get that 4th score down, whereas we're using a 77 instead of a an 87 or a 90, and that just makes a lot of difference. When you go 2 days in a tournament, and so we've been really pleased with that, and the guys we're starting to limit the big numbers, and it's what we've been preaching all along is just playing smart, eliminating the big numbers.
Yeah. And you're talking about that, and I've talked to you. There's been a couple of times where you've been like, if I can just get a couple of our guys to, hey, you can have one bad day, but don't have 2 bad days. You can mix it, and you'll be okay. You kind of saw that this past week. Ben Co-Lin had a really good first day, not so great on the second day, but overall the team was able to compensate it because everybody else around him played a little bit better than they did day one, and that was able to lead to that 3rd place finish. But you've seen other guys like Owen Siegfried, who's one of our local guys who's played really well for you these last couple of tournaments. But, overall, I think you got to like what you're seeing out of the guys and how they're rounding into form coming into these last couple.
Yeah, exactly. We got one more tournament left before a conference, and that's going to be in Meridian next week. So, yeah, I think we're definitely trending in the right direction. Guys are feeling better about their swing in general. We really, really, really worked a lot on the short game. Being able to get up and down if we do miss the green. So, and a lot, obviously, everywhere we go, the putting green surfaces are different and the speed and all that. Plus, it's early spring, so, all the grass isn't fully grown in yet. So, it's just getting used to the different courses, even though we practice at Wolf Hollow a lot and we practice at Brookhaven, the clubs at Old Brook a lot. So, it's just weather cooperating, we're able to get out there. We've had very few rainouts, so we've just been getting after it, and the guys have been responding. Yeah,
and I think you've got your 3 sophomores who were back from last year. Max Zeideman has been a guy who's kind of been your leader throughout the whole thing, and Colby Cox has done really well for you this well too. And I just mentioned Owen Siegfried. Those 3 sophomores have really done well for you. But you look at your freshman, Leopold Gresheimer has done a lot of really good things for you this year. His play has kind of been up and down, but he's been very solid for you despite being up and down. Gabe Gennaro is another kid who you take him on a lot as individuals and those kind of things. But, those guys, I think you look at them and you look how this team is composed, and they really are a really good team, and they play really well together.
Yeah, we have been. I think one of our keys that may kind of go unnoticed is how well Owen has really turned his game around, because, he's primarily been our 4th guy, whereas in the past, last year, and even back in the fall, he was probably our 5th or 6th guy. And, it was a couple of tournaments he didn't even make in the fall last, just because his qualifying rounds weren't that great. But he's really worked hard, and, I'm proud for him and what he's been able to mean to the team.
Yeah. And the good news is like you just mentioned, you got 2 left. You got the Lou Hart Invitational, which is the last MACCC event of the year. That'll be over at Northwood Country Club, a place that a few of the guys are familiar with. They've played over there once or twice. And then a place that you're really familiar with, because we just talked about it, the club at Old Brook, that'll host the MACCC Championship. Southwest is hosting that, not Co-Lin. But, going into that, it's got to feel really good that you're playing at a couple of places that you like, and that you've had some success in the past at.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Our guys, the people at the clubs at Old Brook, Jeff Henning and his staff, they've been phenomenal as far as these past few years, letting us practice there, as much as we want to and play. And, it just helps our guys to be able to go somewhere different that's 10 miles, 10 minutes down the road. So, we played there a lot, and the guys have a good feel for it. It's just a matter of executing.
Yeah. And then beyond that, you'd have the District D tournament as well, too. I believe that's played up in the north half of the state this year.
Hines is actually hosting, and that's going to be at Castlewoods.
Castlewoods. So another place where we're a little familiar with. Like to go over there and play. And then beyond that, if anybody qualifies, team could qualify. You have some individuals. You go to the national tournament. And is it back at Indiana this year, or is it in Missouri?
I can't remember.
Can't remember off the top of our heads. It's in one of those 2 places. It alternates all the time. So, but looking forward to how the season's going to round out for your guys. Enjoyed having you here. Hopefully, we'll be able to get you back on and at least wrap up the season and talk about how well we did at the end of the year. Thanks for joining us, Coach.
Sounds good. Thanks.
So that'll wrap up our golf segment this week. Again, golf guys are playing really well in their last couple. They finished 3rd at the last Chris Clark Invitational. There it is. I was looking for it in my notes. Over at Dancing Rabbit Golf Club over in Philadelphia. Before that, 6th in the Tommy Snell Invitational, which was a non-MACC event over at Sunkist. They'll wrap up the season next week at the Lou Hart Invitational at Northwoods Country Club over in Meridian. And then the MACCC Championship will be about mid-April over in Brookhaven. Stick with us through the break. We've got more coming at you after this.
When you give to the Co-Lin Foundation, your support directly benefits Co-Lin students, faculty, and staff. Whether it's by providing scholarships for students, professional development opportunities for faculty and staff, or technology and campus upgrades, we need your support. Giving to Co-Lin offers the best value for your money as a donor. With low administrative spending and overhead, we can use your donations in tangible ways that benefit students right now. Join us as we back the pack by giving today.
Welcome back in. Thanks for sticking with us through the break. Joining now for our baseball segment is our head baseball coach, Kyle Flessner. Coach, thanks for joining me.
I appreciate you having me.
And Coach, since the last time we've talked, we've played about 9 games. The good news is you've won more of those than you've lost, so you always feel good when that happens. You go 6-3, and the even better news is all 3 of those losses were against ranked teams as well too. So I think you feel good about saying you went 6-3, knowing those 3, all 3 of them you easily could have won. Let them slip away in a couple of those instances, but you feel pretty good about going 6-3 in that stretch.
Yeah, and all 6 of the wins were ranked wins too. So I like to think a glass half full for sure.
And you look back at it, the first 2 that we're going to talk about was that doubleheader against East Central and Gulf Coast. But it was a triple header, a 3-way non-conference split day there. We faced off against East Central first. You dropped this one 4-3, and I think if I had told you on this one, hey, you're going to be the better team for 7 innings, Jennings Kimbrell's going to come in and give you 7 2/3 scoreless, but we're going to lose it by 1 run. I don't know that you would have believed me if I'd have told you that.
Yeah, that's just baseball for you. It just didn't get the start we wanted by our guy, but he was able to come in, grab him by the tail, and keep the lead getting any bigger. And then we were able to scratch and claw and get back in. It just couldn't ever get that extra hit that we needed. I think we left 20 guys on base, and so when you leave a small village against a team like that, they're going to take advantage of it.
Yeah, so. To put it into context, they won both. East Central won both games today. They stole one in their second game against Gulf Coast. Also 4-3. I told people, I said, I don't know what it was about being here that day, but when a team comes in and they're averaging 13 to 15 runs a game and you hold them to 4, you like your odds of winning that one. And when you keep it that close, it's really good and really favorable. Only 4 hits on the day in this one. Bryson Jones, Avery Griffin, Matthew Combs, and Brady White got you your 4 hits. We talked about the starts. CPAC got the start in this one. Went an inning and 2/3, 3 hits, 4 runs, all earned, 2 walks, 1 strikeout. Jennings Kimbrell came in and was all reliable. Jennings 7 1/3, 5 hits, 5 strikeouts. I don't think you could ask for much better out of either one of your pitchers. Obviously, CPAC just didn't have it this day, unfortunately. Sometimes, like you said, that's just baseball.
Yeah, ultimately, I think he would have settled in had he gotten time, but we were in a game to where, hey, we needed to stop the lead from getting any bigger, keep it in where it is, and so I thought Jennings gave us the best chance, and he did absolutely what we thought he would. So,
yeah. And the good news is, in the nightcap, you rebounded for a really good win over a really good Gulf Coast team, beat them 10-3, and you look at this one, they scored 1 in the first. We responded with 1 in the third. They took the lead back in the 4th with run. Big inning for the Wolves came in the 5th with 6 in the 5th, 3 in the 6th. They scored 1 in the 7th. But I think the story of this game was just how dominant West White was in this one. Only one of those runs was earned. So a complete game, 1 run earned out of West White. It ended up giving him pitcher of the week honors as well too, because he had 11 strikeouts in this one against 2 walks and only 2 hits on the day. A really just dominant outing from West.
And that's a really good offense that he did that against. And I think his tempo the whole time, the poise on the mound, it made it easy for our team to just keep up the whole time and, really go fight for a guy that's giving everything for you on the mound. 10
hits in this one. Bryson Jones with 3, Avery Griffin and Trey Davidson with 2, along with John Mark Grissom giving you 2. John Mark Grissom had a home run in this one that, we put it on social media and told everybody it was so nice. We wanted everybody to see it at least twice. Play of the game in this one, though, probably goes to Donovan Moore. That leaping, diving, falling into the fence catch he made. You can see that one on social media as well too. Just an unbelievable play there. We were up in the press box when he caught it, and I said, he caught that, and then you see the whole team jump out of the dugout.
Yeah.
I talked to Donnie after the game. He said, I just saw him coming down the foul line. I didn't even realize what was going on, to be honest with you.
No, that gave us the whole momentum swing right there, because it was right after that catch that we put up that 6th spot. And I don't think it happens without Donovan Moore making that. It just – baseball is such a game of momentum and, runs and, making sure that your team has the momentum the whole time. When you can make a play like that and you can pitch like that on the mound, eventually we're going to get that hit to fall, and John Mark was able to really bust it open for us.
And then you go and play a final non-conference series against Parkland. You took 2 out of 3 in this one. You dropped the first one 11-6. I think as a coach, it's good to see that your guys, in that first game, it's kind of head scratching because we started so well, but then didn't finish really well. But your guys were able to respond and get a 10-0 shutout win in game 2, and then turned around and really just busted out the bats and won 17-3 in game 3. And I think you like to see that your guys were able to rebound after a game 1 loss that you feel. We kind of let that one slip away, but, hey, we got 2 of them.
Yeah, it's something you got to fight. I felt like we were sleepwalking that whole first game. I thought we've had an issue with that a few different times, and for us to respond the next 2 games like we did, I was really happy with our guys. I let them know that too. I said, hey, we're better than that. We can't let any game be a waste, especially going into conference with how tough our schedule is. And so to have another ranked opponent come here and be able to take 2 out of 3, I was extremely proud of our guys, our arms on the mound. CPAT was able to come right back off of a start he didn't like and be able to get, a complete game, was it? Or no, he just had the 5 innings, and we were able to get some guys to get some work in there. And so it was really good job by him, and just overall team effort. I think we kind of found a little bit of our identity in that 3 games.
Yeah, you look at the game 1, the big difference in that one was the 6th spot in the 3rd inning. That's kind of where they kind of a little bit ran away with it right there. You take that away, it's a 6-5 ball game, and the Wolves win it, but we're not in a vacuum, and we can't take away a 6-run inning, unfortunately. Cohen Weinhofer took the loss in that one, gave you 3 2/3, 8 runs, all of them earned. Nash Sturdivant gave you 1 1/3. He allowed 1 earned run. Jacob Buffalo gave you an inning. He allowed 2. Caleb Flynn was probably your most efficient arm in this one. 1 inning, gave up a hit and a couple of strikeouts there in that first one. Game 2, it was a 10-0 ball game. You scored in every inning in that one. 1 in the first, 1 in the second, 4 in the third, 1 in the fourth, 3 in the 5th. I think the story in this one is a kid that we've talked about, and you've just kind of been waiting for him to figure it out. Kavion Griffith. Kid might have figured it out. I think he topped out at 92 in this one that we talked about. 5 innings scoreless, only gave up 1 hit, 3 walks, 2 strikeouts. By far his best outing in a Wolves uniform so far.
Been capable of it the whole time, and he had some fun on the mound. He was dialed in early, and he kept it. And it makes the offense a lot easier to, run, because we know we got a guy that's going to keep it where it is. And so it makes the game a ton easier. And Cohen with game 1, I felt like they executed bunt after bunt after bunt, and then got that big swing. It makes it tough to come back from. And so it's just a tale of 2 games right there. And you got to tip your cap sometimes to the other team. If they execute, it wins. But great job by AG.
Sure. I think you look at this one as a coach, one thing you love to see, 10 runs on 10 hits, 10 RBIs, which means you went out there and earned every bit of it in that game. And then in the 3rd game, 17-3, you mentioned it, CPAT gave you 5 scoreless innings. Lucian Walker came in and gave up 3 runs in an inning on 3 hits and 2 strikeouts. MT Breland came in and gave you a hitless scoreless inning with a strikeout, 17 runs, 12 hits, 16 RBIs. It was just a day where it was a good day to be a Wolf. It was a bad day to be a Cobra.
Absolutely. And I think they were coming off of, they were game number 4 and on day 3, and just traveling that far to go play those games. They looked a little bit tired, and our guys, they could see it as well, and I think we did a really good job taking advantage of that. And we still had a lot of depth on the mound left for us to throw, and that we were kind of getting towards the end of them. They were pretty much throwing a mixed bag at us to see what they could try to do. So.
And then last week, you went on the road for a pair of conference opening doubleheaders. You started last Tuesday over at Meridian. You dropped the first one 10-7. You rebound for a 4-0 win in game 2. We'll talk about that first one. First of all, just your thoughts on, this was one, again, you kind of felt like you let this one slip away because it was really back and forth. But unfortunately, when Meridian was able to take the lead for the second time, our guys were just never able to get it back at that point.
Absolutely. And, first things first, I think Meridian may be the best offense we've seen so far this year. They got a lot of different players that can do a lot of things. They got power, they got speed, they got guys that are tough to strike out, and they were able to string some hits together on us. And so, it was kind of funny. Everybody started thinking, man, they know what's coming. No, they were just putting that good of swings on things. And so when you can string them together, you're at your own home field, you're comfortable, good for them. And, we had some things not go our way. We had a couple guys go down with injury that game that couldn't play game 2. So we had every reason to, think, oh, let's just get out of here and try to, move on to next week. But our guys dug deep and they found a way to get game 2. And, we found some depth on the mound. Like I said, I think this whole week we found our identity a little bit.
You look at it, we took the lead early with a run in the first, or one run in the third. Meridian took the lead with 3 runs in that bottom half. We responded. Hayes Aberry with his first home run of the season, a 3-run bomb. We were talking about it a second ago. You said he got every bit of that one. Then we scored 2 in the 6th. They responded with 2 in the 6th, 4 in the 7th, 1 in the 8th, while we scored 1 in the 8th. That's where you get the 10-7 line. Jennings Kimbrell gave you I was looking at the wrong spot. Jennings Gabriel gave you 6 1/3, 7 runs, all earned on 10 hits, 1 walk, 2 strikeouts, 3 home runs. You look at that line and you say, yeah, the runs and the hits were high for Jennings, but everything else is kind of on line what you expect out of him. Nash Sturdivant gave up 3 runs on 4 hits in an inning. Lucian Walker finished it out with 2/3 of an inning, gave up a hit and a strikeout. 2 strikeouts for Nash as well, too.
Ultimately, didn't mean to get you there,
No,
but
you're good.
I think our guys, they competed well. We didn't play bad by any means, but there was a point where they put up that 4 spot and really kind of put themselves ahead. That half inning before we got 2 runs, but we still left 2 guys on at second and third, and I think 28 were left on base, which there's a lot of opportunities, but it's things that we'll have to get better at, and we're still trying to find ways to be able to score, make the right calls for it, but our guys did a really good job, like I said, in that game too.
And I think when you look at it, you go, hey, good news is we got Wes White going in game 2. And anytime Wes White is on the mound, you like your odds of getting this one, especially with the way he's been pitching. How good was he in this one? Complete game shutout. Only gave up 6 hits, had 2 walks, 7 strikeouts, was absolutely dominant. Got a little help from his defense, especially at the end. Another great catch by Donnie Moore on a leap and a dive on that one to end the game. When you only get 4 runs on 4 hits, Avery Griffin, Brady White, Caleb Brooks, Matthew Combs with your hits. Matthew Combs with his first career home run as well, too. Started the scoring. That was the first run in the third. You scored 1 in the third, 1 in the fourth, 2 in the sixth. But again, when Wes White is pitching that way, all you need is 4 runs.
Yeah, we just needed the 4. We did a good job of just continuing to add on, and Wes did not see one single 1, 2, 3 inning. They always found a way to get a guy on base, try to put some pressure, but he did such a good job not losing any stuff out of the stretch, and just anytime they were trying to get something going, he shut it down. He always seemed to make that perfect pitch at the right time, whether it be a 2-0 and throw an off speed in there, or just if a guy's fighting and fouling off, he ended up finding a way to still win the at-bat and really kept the momentum on our side.
And then you closed it out this past Saturday on the road at Mississippi Delta. You swept these. You took the first one 19-5. You took the second one. That one was 14-3, and I think maybe the only maybe bad note on this one is that first game you might could have ended it early if you didn't give up a 3 spot in the 7th. We scored 3 in the first, 2 in the 2 in the third, 1 in the 5th, 4 in the 6th, 3 in the 7th. The good news is, hey, that 9th inning came around and we scored 6 in that one. They scored 1 in the 4th, 1 in the 5th, 3 in the 7th. That's how you get 19-5. But I think up and down this lineup, we can't go and talk about this game without talking about what Avery Griffin did. 5 for 7, 3 doubles, 7 RBIs. Have a day, Avery Griffin.
No, it's finally equaling out for him. I think the average got above the 300 mark for him on the season, so I'm sure he's happy to see that. And yeah, it could have been a shorter game, but I was not too upset about it because it gave us more innings to get guys in there that have needed to get in there, that deserve to get in there, and ultimately they need to get those reps if we're going to be the type of team we need to be. We were able to get some guys back healthy on the mound, that we were able to get some appearances in. A guy that had been struggling that get back out there and go figure something out, and he did. And so it was a great opportunity for us. I don't think anybody on our team, got deflated that we lost the run rule because, hey, it's more baseball we can play. And ultimately, if you want to play the game, really good spot for you.
Yeah. 19 runs on 18 hits, 16 RBIs. Again, that just shows you went out and earned just every bit of it. Cohen Weinhofer rebounded really well in this one. This looks like a Cohen Weinhofer line that we're used to seeing. Got the win, 5 innings, gave up 2 runs, both earned, 4 hits, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts, only gave up 1 home run. Parker Ishii makes his season debut. Man, is it good to have him back.
Man.
1 inning, gave up a hit and a strikeout. Tanner Blackwell gave you an inning, gave up 3 runs, all earned on 2 hits, 2 strikeouts. MT Breland came out scoreless, hitless with 2 walks. Ty Blakeney came out. This might be his most efficient outing of the year. And this is a guy who, he's throwing really hard from that left side. And, if he gets that control if he gets the control aspect down, he's going to be very dangerous, especially for this bunch down the line. 1 inning, scoreless, hitless, got his first strikeout as well, too. So I think that's something that you can look at him and say, hey, whatever you did here, keep carrying it over because that was really good.
Well, and he'd been getting some live ABs during practice, and he's never given up on it. Just because he's had some outings, he hasn't really, gotten the result that he's wanted. He hasn't been discouraged. He hasn't, been deflated. He said, hey, Coach, what do I need to do? How can we start working on this? And it's showing right there. He won't waver, and that's the type of player that's going to fit here at Co-Lin.
Then you look at game 2, you scored 4 in the second, 1 in the third, 1 in the fourth, 8 in the fifth. That's how you got the 14-3 line there because they scored 3 across those 5 innings as well too. I think I texted you after the second one and I said, boy, that one got out of hand real fast, didn't it? I told you, I said I looked at one point, it was 5-3, and the next thing I knew I was getting or 6-3, and the next thing I knew I was getting a notification that it was final. You look at this one, 14 runs on 7 hits, 11 RBIs. I think a glaring stat is you drew 13 walks, 4 of those by Avery Griffin. You look at this one, he follows up a 5-for-7 game with 0 for 1, but he had 4 walks. He still got on base a lot of times. That just shows, I think the team was very patient at the plate, and it really paid off throughout this game.
Yeah, the game 2 guy for them, he had some electric stuff. He was sitting around 90 with his fastball and had a big breaking ball with it, and we were fortunate enough the guy was struggling to, control the zone a little bit, and we did a really good job of not helping him out. Don't let him out of the inning. And they jumped on us quick at 3-0 in the first. We left some base runners on, and then they made us pay and hit a 3-run shot. They got a really good hitter in that first baseman there, and I thought it was going to turn into one of those doubleheaders where, one's not close, and then it turns out to be a dogfight. And our guys said, hey, let's not press. Let's just win 1 pitch at a time, and then we just handled business. And so it's very easy to drop one in the Delta when you're not comfortable being there. And they'll play a really good game in game 2, so I was really happy with our guys not falling victim to that.
Yeah. Okay, CPAC got the win in this one, moved to 3-1, gave you a complete game, 3 hits, 3 runs, all earned, 4 walks, 8 strikeouts, gave up the 3-run home run. I think the one thing on this one maybe you'd like to see up is maybe not so many free passes because the 4 walks and the 3 hit by pitches, that's a little high for Cam on the hit by pitches. I saw him earlier. I said, hey, did they crowd the plate on you a little bit? He said, yeah, they really did. He said, now that first guy, he said, I own it. I hit him.
Yeah.
He said, there was no doubt about that. He said, but they did crowd it because I told him, I said, man, that hit by pitch, that's a high number for you. Yeah. Maybe 1, we're kind of used to seeing Cam hit 1, but 3 is a very weird number for him to have. But, I think if there's one bad note on this one, it's 7 free passes, but the good news is you gave up 7 free passes. He still had 8 strikeouts, and he still found a way to win.
And I remember one of the mound visits I made with him, and I said, hey, I'm just out here to give you a breather. I have no doubt that you're going to be able to just finish this game. I said, the ball's coming out of your hand great. It looks like you have your stuff. You're throwing it where you want. You just got snake bitten really by one hitter that made you pay, and you can't let that take you out of the day. He did a good job coming back, looking confident the next inning, and it was just typical Cam Patterson going to give you the chance to win the ball game. So. Now,
the good news is we get to talk about games that are coming up. Yeah. No more games that have already happened. We're through the long part of this thing because we've only got 2 this week. This weekend is our off day, so we won't play this weekend. We will play. It was originally scheduled for Tuesday. We've now moved it to Wednesday because it's going to be cold on Tuesday. Baseball players don't like playing in the cold. As a former baseball player, I can confirm that. Cold weather baseball is not fun. So Wednesday, 3 and 6, we're going to play Hines. This is a team that we've seen once already. Wes White threw a complete game over there, a 5-inning complete game. So what are we expecting out of the Eagles? I know that's a team that they've been kind of up and down. But they can find ways to win if you let them. But you like your odds being here at Sullivan Field and playing them at home.
I love the fact that we're here. They're coming off of a road sweep as well. They're playing some really good baseball. They're pitching it really well, and I think they're finding some pieces in their lineup. So it's going to be a really tough 2 games for us. It has to start with us controlling what we can, and we have to be able to dictate, the pace of the game. We have to control the tempo, control the momentum, and keep it on our side. We got to get ahead early and stay ahead. And so it starts with good pitching on the mound, which I'm very happy with the arms that we got. We got another one coming back healthy as well. We got Braden Cooley. He'll be live again. So we got pretty much our whole pitching staff ready. And with a bye week to follow up, we'll be able to use all of our bullets and know that, hey, we're going to be focused on these 2 games, and then we'll figure out the rest. We got a week to figure it out. So
I don't know if I can speak for all Wolves fans, but I speak for me personally. It's really nice to hear the head coach say, hey, we're finally healthy, especially in the pitching staff. And now we can figure everything out with everybody. So lots of good things happening for the Wolves. Again, they go 6-3 across their last 9, 3-1 in conference play to open up the year. We'll host Hines on Wednesday at 3-6. We're going to have those streamed for you, first stream of the year. I'll be on the call there for you for that. Wolves will be off, and before they go play the number 1 team in the country, we'll talk to Coach Fless before all that as well too. Hopefully talking about a pair of Wolves wins. So Thanks for joining me, Coach. We look forward to talking to you next week. That'll wrap up baseball. I know it was a long segment. Thanks for sticking with us. Coming up, we'll talk with Coach Howard about softball and figure out how the Lady Wolves have done over the last few. Hey Wolves fans, I'm Kevin Kyzar, your sports information coordinator here at Co-Lin. Every week I sit down with some of our coaches here in our Sandifer studio and get the inside scoop on all things Co-Lin athletics. From the diamond to the court, the gridiron, to the green. You can catch the Coaches Show wherever you get your podcast or watch us on YouTube. Go Wolves! Thanks for sticking with us through the break. Joining me for our final segment this week is our head softball coach, Meleah Howard. Coach, thanks for joining me.
Excited to be here.
And Coach, since the last time we talked, the Lady Wolves have won a lot and have not lost a single one, so that's always some good news there. You start off with a big sweep against all the way back to March 4th. That was a while back, almost 2 weeks now. But March 4th, you welcomed in LSU Eunice. This was a big-time matchup, number 4 versus number 5 at that point. And the Lady Wolves swept. You won 7-4 and 7-6. Talk about how good it was to see your team kind of close out non-conference play with this big of a matchup and find a way to win both.
Well, we knew coming in that LSUE was going to be scrappy. They were going to play hard, and they did. We swept, and that was great, but it was not easy. They made it a very difficult task for us, but I'm glad we came out on top.
Yeah. In game 1, you had home runs from Breeley Phillips, Brooklyn Wren, Annie Poole, Morgan Chisholm, no, not Morgan Chisholm, sorry. Addison Lindley got the start, gave you a really solid day, 9 hits, 4 runs, all earned 3 walks, 4 strikeouts. Lily Crum came in, gave you a save, an inning and a third. Really came in a high-pressure situation to deliver for you, bases loaded, got that out for you. Didn't give up a hit or a run, 1 walk, 3 strikeouts for Lily. Game 2 was, as we just saw, a lot closer. That one was very much back and forth. There was a home run by Abby Burnett in this game. We thought she was going to get 2 in this one. Big day for Abby there in game 2. You had to bring Addison in to close this one out. Ava started it. Lily came in, just didn't have it for you, unfortunately, but Addison was able to come in, face one hitter, get out of a situation there where they had the tying run on base. Talk about how big it was for your girls to find a way to win that game in a very much back and forth kind of games that you're going to experience later in conference play.
I mean, it was great to see us come out on top after having adversity. And if I'm correct, I'm pretty certain we got down in that game early. So we got punched in the mouth and how are we going to respond? And that's what we need to see out of our girls is hey, it's not always going to go your way. So how are you going to respond? And we responded well. And we needed to see some adversity going into conference, so that was good for us. As a coach, I don't love that, but I know that's going to make us better for sure.
And then you went into conference play. You started with 2 on the road. You started at Coahoma. The good news is you've won all 6 of these. You beat Coahoma. You swept them 15-2 and 13-1. This was a Coahoma team that we've talked about. They're improved from last year, but it's still, your girls just came out and handled business like you expected them to.
And they did. Conference games are conference games. I tell them there's not one conference game that's more important than the other. You have to take every single game serious no matter who you're playing, and that's our focus right now is just game by game. Every game matters.
And this was a game that kind of opened up with Breeley Phillips kind of continued her red hot streak. She hit 2 in the sweep of Eunice. She started this game off, second pitch of the game, hit it out of the park. I text Bryce Perry. I said, well, Breeley just hit a bomb on the second pitch of the game. So if that's any indication of how this day is going to go, I think it's going to be a good day for the Lady Wolves. She was the only home run in this one. Maddie West came in, gave you 2 innings. Addison Lindley got the win with 3 innings in this one. Both gave up 1 earned run, had 3 strikeouts between the 2 of them as well, too. So a solid day in the circle for that one. Second game, it was 13-1. No home runs in this one. I think as a coach, you like to see the fact that, hey, we put up 28 runs in a doubleheader and only hit 1 home run, so we weren't relying on the long ball to get the runs this time.
Correct, yes.
And then you go to this past week, you hosted Meridian and Delta, swept both of those. Neither game was particularly close, if we're just being honest. 12-0 against Meridian in game 1. In game 2, you faced some adversity. They came out, got a 3-run home run in game 2, but the good news is your girls responded very quickly, scored 5 in the first on the way to a 16-3 win. I think it was fun as a coach to see your team respond to that adversity because you had seen them do it before, but now you saw it in conference play.
Right. I agree. It was just a great day offensively. Addison pitched well once again. So very proud of her and her performances. She's been consistent on the mound for us. Defense has been solid. Hats off to Meridian. They've got a good team. We just played really well.
Yeah. And you just mentioned it. Addison got the start in game 1, got you the win there. Ava gets the start in game 2, gets you the win. Lily Crum came in, pitched very well in that one as well, too. And then this past Saturday, you hosted Delta, and, this was just all Lady Wolves. There's no other way to say it. 24-0 in game 1, 8-0 in game 2. I think people maybe scratch their heads a little bit and go 8-0 in game 2 after 24-0 in game 1 sounds a little weird, but, sometimes that's softball, and it doesn't matter. The Lady Wolves still won.
Well, it's all about our hitters and how they match up with the pitcher. And, the pitcher in game 2 for Mississippi Delta was doing some things different that we had to adjust, and it took us a little bit longer to do that. But, 24 runs, I saw people and they were like, 24 runs? And I'm like, you don't understand. Like, we were just hitting the ball. Everybody. Mm-hmm. I think just about everybody got to play in this game. And everybody contributed in some kind of way.
You emptied out the bench. You had 4 home runs. Breeley Phillips, Ayardi Van Blaircom. Yachty had a great doubleheader against Delta. Annie Poole, Caitlin Malone came in, gave you the 2 best at bats she's had, I think, all year. Had 5 RBIs in this game as well, too. Addison Lindley came in, gave you 3 innings of scoreless. A scoreless start. Maddie West came in, gave you 2 hits, scoreless, 8 strikeouts between the 2 of them. Addison got her 11th win. That's good enough for leading the MAC in wins right now as well, too. The Lady Wolves, in fact, have 2 of the top 3 pitchers in numbers of wins, with Addison being first with 11. Ava Browder's tied for second with 10. So, if we were worried about pitching, I think the kids are going to be all right.
They're going to be all right, yeah. Just a testament to our team. We have a really good roster. Mm-hmm. You have girls starting that are really good that can get it done, and then you have girls that come off the bench and they're still really good and they can get it done. So as a coach, that makes me feel really good.
Yeah. In game 2, you had home runs from Breeley Yachty and Stella Roberts as well, too, and that's those 8-0. In that 8-0 victory over Delta. So this week, we've only got 1 doubleheader. You're going to go on the road. You're going to face a very talented Hines Lady Eagles team. They're ranked in top 15 in the nation, number 15 versus number 3. What are you expecting out of that bunch when you go over there on Wednesday?
I don't know a lot about Hines this year. They lost a lot of their starting lineup from last year, but I think they're going to be scrappy. They're going to play hard, and it's at Hines. So, they're home territory. But we got to continue to do what we've been doing and play Co-Lin softball, and I think the rest will take care of itself.
Yeah. Hines, a field that I always tell people it's unique in a couple of aspects. It's all turf, which you don't see a lot of, but it plays very bigger than what it looks like, too. There's been a lot of times we've gone over there, and I've seen our teams hit a lot of balls really hard, and you think, oh, that's leaving the yard, and then, nope, it's at the wall. Or, nope,
it is a pretty big field. The outfield is grass, though.
Yep.
So, that's a little bit different, infield turf, outfield grass, but it's just a little different place to play, but historically we've played pretty good there, so hopefully that continues.
The good news is it feels like the Lady Wolves are going to be up to the task. 17 run rules in 25 games already.
Absolutely.
We mentioned that, talking about that before we started the show. I think that's the quickest we've ever gotten to that number in record in program history. Lots of good things happening for the Lady Wolves, lots of exciting things happening for the Lady Wolves. They have won 8 in a row have swept everything since the last time we talked. Beat Eunice 7-4, 7-6. Beat Coahoma 15-2, 13-1. Beat Meridian 12-0, 16-3. Beat Delta 24-0, 8-0. Then they will go on the road on Wednesday, 3-5. We'll give you the streaming information as it's available to us at Renee T. Warren Field over in Raymond. If you can't make it out there to the field, watch the stream. They will do a great job over there, as they always do. That will wrap up our show this week. As a reminder, we have nothing but baseball and softball on the docket this week, as far as I know. Maybe some tennis as well, too. Tennis will play Hines. Let me correct myself there. I know that for sure. But baseball now playing Hines, as we mentioned with Coach Flessner, on Wednesday, 3 and 6 start times for them. Softball at Hines, 3 and 5 start times for them. Tennis will host Hines on Friday, 11 a.m. start times there. That's all the action for this week, with basketball being wrapped up and done, as we talked with the coaches earlier. I'm Kevin Kyzar, Sports Information Coordinator here at Co-Lin. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you next week.